Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. The history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show today. It is Tuesday, April 16th, 2019, getting into the week here. And we have got a lot to talk about today. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. Mike is in our control room, ready to answer the phone, put you on the air with your comments, questions, and observations. Right now in Paris, there is this March Vigil concert taking place around the shell of Notre Dame. And obviously a lot of people are very motivated by this tragedy. I understand they've already had something like 300 million euros pour into a reconstruction fund. So it is going to be rebuilt. It's probably going to take about 5 years. And again, the authorities are saying there is no sign of arson. They are talking to one of the work crews that specifically was working on the spire and saying that it does appear that there was some kind of a mistake. The focus is currently on Les Bras Frères, or the Le Bras Brothers, a company based in Jarny in the Meurthe et Moselle department of northeastern France. And some of its 200 specialist employees were working on the wooden and lead spire of Notre Dame Cathedral that collapsed after the fire broke out. And if you look at the video, okay, the fire starts at the base of that spire. So it could have been a hot piece of welding rod or something. And a little bit of arrogance, though. Apparently the construction boss was out there saying, well, she's safe in our hands, you know. Little arrogance here. Now, a lot of people are still going around trying to say that this was an Islamic attack, in part because there have been desecrations of churches all over France. Glenn Beck is out there saying that if the Notre Dame fire was started by Islamists, I don't think you'll find out about it. Well, I think if the Notre Dame fire were started by Islamists, they'd be making a lot of noise about it by now. Anywhere they could, any way they could, to just get that out there. But the police are saying they're pretty sure that this was just an accident. And, you know, I can understand. Nobody wants a holy war in the streets of France. Now, there's a little bit of good news. The altar is still intact. The cross above the altar is still intact. The organ, some of which goes back to the medieval period, is still intact. And because they were doing the restoration on the outside, many of the statues of various religious figures that normally adorn the top of the cathedral had been removed and set aside. So if it had to happen, this was a good time for it to happen. And apparently, this Professor Andrew Tallon, unfortunately, recently passed away, but he basically did a complete laser scan of the Notre Dame Cathedral, which will serve as a blueprint for the restoration. Now, yesterday, when the fire was going on out there, Donald Trump got on his Twitter feed and encouraged French firefighters to use flying water tankers and to act quickly to save the cathedral. The French Civil Security Agency was quick to respond to Trump's suggestion, saying that dropping water from the air onto the building could easily collapse the entire structure. So a little bit of an oopsie there from the Donald here. Now, this is kind of a little weird, and it makes you go, Apparently, at the same time Notre Dame was burning, part of the Haram Sharif, the Jerusalem mosque built at Al-Aqsa, also caught fire, damaging a part of the structure dating to Judean King Herod the Great's reign. So that's going to make you scratch your head just a little tiny bit. So let's talk about Julian Assange. What does the government really have on him? Well, Assange is not charged with anything related to Russia or Russiagate, or even with breaking a law. The only thing he's charged with is being in a conspiracy with Manning to commit computer intrusion. The charge is not that Assange succeeded in hacking a government computer and obtaining classified information. It merely says Assange discussed it with Manning and may have had the intention to hack the computer, but he didn't do it. This is a non-crime, and this is the best that they can come up with. And what's really even more embarrassing for them is there's a statute of limitations on a charge of conspiracy, and it is 5 years, which has already expired. So they're trying to build up some kind of a case and make it look like he's a real bad guy before they get him back here to the United States. And again, the world is siding with Julian Assange on this one. They see him as the victim. They see him as a champion of a free press and freedom of speech. Now, the United States has basically assured Great Britain that they will not seek the death penalty for Assange. Great Britain had earlier said they would not extradite Assange to any country where he could conceivably face the death penalty. Now, this is an easy promise for the United States to make because Assange isn't charged with any death penalty crimes. Maximum he can get is 5 years on the conspiracy charge if his lawyer doesn't get it thrown out because of the statute of limitations. But that's what the U.S. is saying, that they're not going to seek the death penalty for Assange. And, of course, I don't know how relaxed Assange is going to be about trusting the United States on that one. But, again, they don't have a charge for him that carries a death penalty. Okay, we're going to do a shout-out now to our on-air affiliates who are just now rejoining our network. And I know they're trying to basically create a charge of espionage against Julian Assange, except that he did not solicit or actively participate in the acquisition of the classified information. He was a passive receiver of it. And just like the New York Times and the Washington Post during the Pentagon Papers or during Watergate, he's protected. They keep screaming he's not a real journalist. He's not a real journalist. Look at all the stories that he's exposed over the last years. I'd say he's a real journalist. He's done really good work. Now, Nobel Peace Laureate Marian Maguire is requesting permission from the UK Home Office to visit Julian Assange, whom this year she has nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. And that would be a very good thing for her to do. I hope he wins. I hope they give him the Peace Prize. Not that it's really worth all that much ever since Al Gore got done with it. And, you know, all those other jokers who just made a travesty of the Peace Prize here. But what this is the United States wanting their pound of flesh because Julian Assange and Manning embarrassed them. They put out that tape of the 30-millimeter chain gun helicopter slicing up a couple of Reuters reporters and various other crimes. That's it. We've embarrassed the master, and that's why they're upset here. Now, Assange, true to his word, has now dumped all the WikiLeaks files. They are over at file.wikileaks.org/file, and they're all there, and that's going to be a rich fodder for independent journalists to be researching over the coming months here. But it's all out there now, and that was Assange's promise that he was going to do. Over in Afghanistan, the Taliban has launched a new spring offensive, which they announced they were going to do only yesterday. At the same time, they're saying they want to renew the peace talks down in Qatar this month. And as a concession to American sensibilities, this time women will be included in the Taliban delegation. Now, this is a largely symbolic gesture, but it does indicate that the Taliban is willing to make some adjustments for the comfort of the United States. Meanwhile, of course, for the United States, they're going to want three things. One, to not have to admit they lost. Two, continued use of that pipeline right-of-way. And three, continued access to the opium. But I think it would be hard-pressed to say that the United States won in Afghanistan, just like they didn't win in Syria. Speaking of Syria, 6 civilians and 5 Syrian troops killed after militants shelled Aleppo. And apparently this happened in the past 24 hours, killing 6 civilians, 5 Syrian troops. This according to the Russian Defense Ministry Center for Syrian Reconciliation. Over the past day, terrorists have attacked Sanjika in Latakia province and Aleppo as a result of shelling at Al-Hamdaniya district in Aleppo. 6 civilians, 5 servicemen were killed. To keep repeating that over and over and over again. Amnesty International is being accused of showing bias in their reporting of stories coming from Syria. And they're accused basically of remaining silent on Al-Qaeda war crimes in order to basically make it look like the Syrian government is doing all the bad stuff. So, can't even trust Amnesty International. A little bit of good news. The railway linking Iran to Syria through Iraq is basically, you'll pardon the expression, back on track. This railway had been being built. 90% of the construction on the Syrian side was complete. Unfortunately, the tracks had been bombed during the 8-year conflict. So now they're getting ready to go back and start repairing the tracks and getting the trains running. That would be a good one. Okay, the U.S. has launched a new round of attacks in Yemen. Great Britain is training the Saudis, and the Saudis are using child soldiers. Meanwhile, this is an interesting story. The Saudis have flown members of parliament who were under house arrest in Saudi Arabia back to Yemen to form a new parliament. So they're going to try and manufacture a new government for the people of Yemen. But if these guys were under house arrest, I don't know how friendly they're going to be to Saudi Arabia. It's kind of a really crazy situation. Okay, let's see. 3 months ago, Mint Press News unveiled Saudi plans to hijack Yemen's parliament. And last Saturday, Saudi Arabia carried out the plan when it forced members of Yemen's House of Representatives to hold a council session in the eastern city of Sayan in Yemen's Hadramaut Governorate. Yemeni members of parliament who have been under house arrest in Saudi Arabia since 2015 were returned to Yemen on a private Saudi plane and received by Saudi officials at the Al Rayyan airport in eastern Yemen. Local Yemeni media was barred from covering their arrival, and Saudi state-run Al Arabiya was the sole media outlet allowed to cover the event. So they're reshaping a new government for the people of Yemen. Over in Libya, the Libyan National Army continues to advance on Tripoli, but it's sort of bogged down. It's been dragged into a form of trench warfare. And militias loyal to the government of National Accord, that's the new and improved, we're going to give it to you government of Libya, have stopped the Libyan National Army advance in the area of Ain Zara and prevented LNA units from cutting off the Tripoli-Misrata highway along the coast. So apparently on April 10th, the Libyan National Army announced it had downed an L-39 jet of the Government of National Accord Air Force. However, there's no confirmation of that just yet. Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Alexander Grushko said yesterday that Moscow sees no sign that NATO knows how to get out of the impasse in relations with Russia. Well, a big part of that, of course, is coming from Mike Pompeo and John Bolton. They want to be confrontational with Russia and with China. They've been arm-twisting NATO all along. But according to the deputy minister, the cooperation between Russia and NATO in the civil and military area has completely ended. That's a bad sign. NATO itself has given up the positive agenda in relations with Russia, which does not exist, and for the moment, there are no signs that NATO knows how to get out of this impasse. However, the deputy minister detailed Russia continues to maintain military contacts with certain countries of the alliance, so it's not totally a lost cause. But that's really a bad sign when you have these two armed bodies just not talking to each other anymore. Donald Trump, in another one of his famous sellouts here, he's out there insisting that Israel should be immune from the International Criminal Court. And Trump came on out there and said that Americans and Israelis are deserving immunity from the International Criminal Court prosecution. And basically, Trump is declaring victory after the ICC rejected a request to investigate U.S. personnel for actions in Afghanistan. Well, yeah, I can understand why he's feeling very, very butch about that. So once again, the U.S. declares itself to be an outlaw nation with nothing but contempt for humanity and the rule of law. And Trump is just out there saying, the ICC, it's for the little nations, not for Israel and not for the United States. Now, interestingly enough, and this is over at mondoweiss.net, supporting Israel is actually becoming a political liability for Democrats. But in a recent interview with 60 Minutes, they didn't bother bringing that up with Nancy Pelosi. They were there doing a puff piece, a glowing profile on Nancy Pelosi as the progressive dragon slayer opposed to Donald Trump, the force that will keep the Democratic Party unified. Israel was, of course, never mentioned. And, of course, Pelosi is dismissing the reference to the new progressive wave and claiming that progressive mantle for herself. A little bit of ego there. Colonel Lawrence Wilkerson, former Chief of Staff to Secretary of State Colin Powell, basically a week ago said that Israel is in the process of plunging America into a war with Iran that could destroy what's left of the Middle East and ignite a third world war. Now, Wilkerson's a retired colonel. He now teaches at Washington area universities, and he didn't hold back on his critique of where the status quo is leading the United States via its client state, Israel. Actually, I think we're the client state, and Israel's in charge. He's basically concerned that Israel could drag us into World War III, war with Russia, war with China. Over in Hebron, Israeli soldiers attacked dozens of school children and teachers in the southern area of Hebron City and in the southern part of the occupied West Bank, causing dozens of teachers and school children to suffer severe effects of tear gas inhalation. Media sources in Hebron said the soldiers fired a barrage of gas bombs and concussion grenades into and around Hebron Elementary School for Boys, Khadija bint Khalid Emanatory School for Boys, the Narain Elementary School for Boys, and Tariq bin Ziyad School for Boys, while the students were standing in line in the yards of their schools preparing to start the school day. Over in India, they're having elections underway, and one of the biggest problems they're dealing with is buying of votes. And in a population where a quarter of the people earn less than $2 a day, they're being lured by politicians offering illegal handouts. And apparently, law enforcement agencies have seized cash, liquor, drugs, gold, and other contraband worth 25 billion rupees, that's $361 million, already double the value of goods seized in the entire 2014 elections. So apparently it's, again, election fraud on a massive, massive scale. Okay. The United States is asking U.S. citizens to reconsider travel plans to Pakistan due to the threat of terrorism, and we will be right back.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
Some have maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, just try it yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far 5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And we already talked about Pakistan and the threat of terror. So the Pentagon has now approved $500 million, that's $500 million with a B, to train Taiwanese F-16 fighter pilots. This is going to cover the training, spare parts, and supplies. And this, of course, is going to only anger China even further against us. And it seems like a harebrained foreign policy. At the same time, you're trying to come to a trade agreement with China, that you're supporting Taiwan, sailing through the Taiwan Straits, sailing through the South China Sea. It seems to be at cross purposes with each other. And it kind of makes me wonder, is anybody really in charge over there at 1600 Pennsylvania? Okay. The U.S. envoy Brent Christensen, who's the de facto American ambassador to Taiwan, on Monday pledged continuing U.S. support for Taiwan to join international organizations like Interpol and the World Health Organizations, despite China's campaign to isolate the island nation. So Christensen called for Taiwan to be granted full membership in international organizations that do not require statehood and meaningful participation in those that do. Taiwan exists, of course, in this uneasy relationship with mainland China, where Taiwan wants to be its own nation. China says, no, you're part of us. Okay, we're going to go to the phones here. Dustin in New Jersey. Aloha, Dustin. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, actually, Mike, I want to talk about that, what you just said, but real quick, I just want to mention, remember when Obama got the Nobel Peace Prize? Doesn't really mean anything anymore.
No.
And Trump, remember where everybody was thinking he's going to get the Nobel Peace Prize for North Korea? That ain't happening anymore, pal. You know, for anybody to, Trump, Mike, you can feel it, taste it, and see it. Trump is a lost cause. You had a caller yesterday toward the later part of your show. I'm sorry, dude. You're wrong. Trump is a lost cause. He had the ability to get rid of the deep state. You don't put the deep state in to get rid of the deep state.
Yeah.
You know, like he had Tucker Carlson said it. Tucker Carlson had on a corporal or general or something or a lieutenant. Like he could have been put in to the Pentagon. And those who control the military, nothing going to happen to Trump then. But he didn't do that. He didn't do that. He went along with all these other things with making Israel great again. And, I said it yesterday, no wall built. There ain't no tax cuts coming for the regular folk, And I just don't see, I don't understand why people still support Trump when did Trump come in, Mike, exactly? I think it was like 2017, January, right?
Yeah.
But it's April 16, 2019, and people are still flowing over the freaking. I don't understand how people can still support this dude.
Well,
I'm sorry,
partly
man.
it's because they've always supported him and they don't want to admit that they were wrong. That's a major, major factor. You'll have people who they'll grab onto a celebrity or a politician, and then from then on, it's like a cult. It's hero worship, and we're seeing a lot of that. Even with Hillary, there's a lot of people who still think she's the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Yeah, I don't understand. I don't vote Democrat. Like I voted for Obama the first time because I thought his hope and change got me, but Trump's Make America Great Again got me. It's the system. Until we get rid of the system, it seems like now I'm 100% sure that it doesn't matter who the hell we vote for. Until you get rid of that system, you got to attack the system. This left, right, up, down, Republican, Democrat crap don't mean nothing no more because they're all on the same page. All right, Mike, I'm going to switch gears real quick if I still have time.
Well, I'm going to have to take you through the next commercial break, though.
Okay, all right, yeah. Did you see on RT there was a thing about Huawei offered Apple the 5G chip to use for the 5G network. Now, how is that going to play out? Now, if Apple says, okay, how's Trump and all the national security 17 intelligence agencies going to try to spin that? Because didn't they say it's a national security risk?
Well, that's what they're saying, but what they're trying to do is, Huawei is way ahead of everybody else on implementation of 5G, and They're trying to stall the implementation of 5G in this country with all kinds of horror stories about how it's bad for you until there are American manufacturers who can take advantage of the marketing opportunity. But, Huawei got there first. And they're there with a decent product, and other countries are not knuckling under to U.S. pressure to not go with them. That people want to get the 5G up and running.
That's why a lot of, like you said, there's a lot of crap going on about 5G is going to fry your brain. It's going to eradicate humanity. I mean, they said the same thing about the microwave. I mean, people got to keep. I mean, yeah, it does emit radio waves, but you got to understand there's a lot of propaganda going out there because they don't want Huawei to take over the lead with the 5G network. That's what it's about,
That's exactly what it's all about here. Okay, stay on the line, Dustin. We got to take another break for commercials, and we'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, the number 2, keep it today.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds, up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AROutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more, plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AROutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AROutfitting.com.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. We're talking with Dustin in New Jersey. We're talking about Trump's basically being a disappointment. I think we're all agreement on that one. And this seemingly self-contradictory, self-destructive foreign policy toward China.
Mike, it's over for the West. I mean, you look at China offering like Apple the Silk Road they got going. Where's our alternative? You know, we always say, oh, China, those communists, they killed all these amount of people back then. It's 2019. Do they have a communist party? Yes, but they are mercantilists, like
yes.
the British Empire used to be. But they're not expansionists per se. They believe in their own near abroad per se. And basically, you know, did China attack Iraq? Did they attack Libya, Syria, using terrorist proxies, or Ukraine, or Yemen? No. No, the hatred of China is brought up by people who don't want them to. Basically, it's trying to keep China down, like Russia, economically. That's what it's about.
Yes.
Because if Mike, I looked at multiple maps and interviews, and by 2030, it's going to be China far surpassed us economically, and India and the United States has fallen to number 3, and Russia is going to be number 5. Germany is going to be pushed back probably to 7 or something. And I don't know where Britain is at all, because they got issues, and so does France. So I mean, that's the world's changing, people. You know, I mean, I don't think we can fix it at this point. It's unfixable. So I don't know how the United States is going to. You know, basically what's going on in the media is a hatred of Russia and China they're pushing because to try to get the people riled up against a new power forming per se. You know what I mean, Mike? Like that's what's going on, I think.
Well, what's going on is the United States can no longer compete with these other countries in manufacturing or agriculture, and because they can't compete on a level playing field, they're resorting to the military option. You know, you will buy products from us. You will not sell products to our enemies, and that kind of arm twisting that we're seeing basically all over the globe. And you're right, it's falling apart. We're about ready to get escorted out of Afghanistan. We're pretty much done in Syria. I don't know what Trump is thinking about going into Venezuela. But yeah, the United States is definitely in decline. And I think the sooner it happens, the better for everybody. Certainly around the world.
Mike, do you realize? Well, Mike, you know, Afghanistan, Iraq, those were overstretched empire, just like what happened to like Rome. Basically, yes. They overstretched their bounds, and basically that has accelerated the decline. These wars, people realize that they have accelerated the decline of, you know, because the China will rise, the Russia rise while you decline because of the wars. You know, no infrastructure rebuilding like Trump said, going back to Trump. No, nothing's getting done. You know, China's they're building the ports. They're building infrastructure in Africa. If anybody goes on YouTube, you could just look at the videos. Infrastructure, railroads, airports, and we're not building anything. Not even here.
Well, we're building bombs. We're building, you know, warships and bombers and artillery. Doesn't that count for something?
Yeah, but by 2030, Mike, China is going to be so, like, in terms of economic power, we're not going to be able to do this kind of crap, just like what happened with Russia and Syria. And Venezuela now, the United States is stuck because China and Russia is there. So you can build all the bombs you want, but, you know, they'll be sitting there because the alternative to do something against those countries would be a world war, and it'd be a nuclear war. Because that's where we've come.
In terms of Venezuela, Russia's already indicated what their strategy is, and that is another war of attrition and just grind the United States down like they did in Vietnam and they did in Syria. And it will work. It absolutely will work. And we definitely have fools running the ship of state.
All right, Mike, have a good show.
All right, thanks an awful lot here, and we're going to switch over to Tony in Puerto Rico. Aloha, Tony. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
A couple of quick questions. Donald Trump, he's just an egomaniac. We need somebody smart in 2020 like Tulsi, but that's not my question. My question is this. the Monroe Doctrine, was that for obtaining markets more than keeping the old European empires out of the Western Hemisphere?
It was more about securing hemispheric trade for the United States, yes.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
All right, and we're going to switch over to Joe in Tennessee. Aloha, Joe. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. Dustin asked a rhetorical question, who still likes Trump? And I went to the barbershop today. I live in Eastern Tennessee, and there's about 5, 6 guys in their 80s there. Now, guys that are old, they have a lot of connections, family, grandkids, they've come from different places, Ohio, Kentucky. And all they were talking about was all the businesses, manufacturing jobs that were around here. There was a bus company that was, I think, a European bus company, 2,000 jobs, not far from my house. And they were talking about in Ohio and Kentucky. Everybody was talking about the booming manufacturing around here. So I don't know where Dustin lives, but I know Eastern Tennessee, areas of Ohio and Kentucky, I guess Trump country, there's a lot of jobs coming around here. And part of it is I think Trump is putting pressure on you. A lot of them are European, and the European labor costs are very high compared to the United States. Trump is saying you have to build things here if you want to sell us your cars. So I hear this, that everybody talking about it, but then you go like where the rubber meets the road, and you go to like a small local, this guy has his own private barbershop in his garage, and you talk to the people around here in Eastern Tennessee, and they're loving Trump. The people they don't like are Lamar Alexander and Bob Corker and all these people that are supposed rhinos and Republicans that backstab Trump every chance they got. So, I think that Dustin might want to just go out a little bit more because where the rubber hits the road, as I said, it's maybe go to a barbershop in New Jersey and talk to some people because, it seems like he's got a very negative view on everything. And although there are negative things to be, worried about, there are a lot of good things that are going on right now. I mean, the economy is doing better than it was under Obama. Trump is always on TV, always has the guys with the hard hats, always talking about jobs. Not like these Democrats and Bush, they get in, they talk about jobs, and then they never talk about jobs again. I mean, you have a president that's always putting pressure on corporations that are leaving this country. And Dustin talked about China and how these wars that we get involved in developed China. No, what developed China was outsourcing. It was American companies and European companies that went to China because of their cheap labor. It wasn't, the wars, yes, they're a bad thing for this nation. But really, China was brought to develop on purpose. It was American money. It was capitalist money. It was whatever money. They decided, somebody made the decision that China was going to be where they were going to do all the manufacturing, and we were just going to be here, a service economy.
Yes.
And so Trump has said, no, we're going to become a manufacturing economy now, again, and he's bringing jobs back to America. And I think that to ignore that is why you and Dustin are going to be wrong, and Trump is going to win this next election because he's going to get the Reagan Democrat, blue-collar workers in Ohio, Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania's booming right now. Michigan, Wisconsin. He's going to win that blue wall again. His problem might be Texas or Florida, with all the Puerto Ricans coming into Florida. That's going to be trouble. But once again, I really, like I said, if Dustin would have been getting a haircut with me today and talked to these old guys, and you would have heard what I heard, which was all the different jobs, because it came up. 2,000 jobs building buses here, and 250 some Belgian company that they can't hire people fast enough here. So I just wanted to say that, things are a lot more positive than you think, and I see it. I mean, maybe in other areas of the country they're not doing as well, but around here it sure is. And down in the oil patch where I was just down working on a drill ship in Louisiana, and the guys from Texas, things are starting to turn around there too. So I don't know. I hope that the economy can stay on track, because that's basically what gets somebody elected as president. It's always been that way.
True.
And I hope the Federal Reserve doesn't pull any tricks on Trump. and they don't orchestrate a market collapse or some kind of economic collapse. But otherwise, I think that Trump is a great president when it comes to the economy. I've never seen a president care more, maybe except for Nixon, about the working man. And he is the blue-collar billionaire. I still believe that. I am disappointed about Israel and his Middle East policies, but I'm not surprised because he didn't lie to us. He always said he was a Zionist and he was pro-Israel. So, I can't say that anything that he's doing over there surprises me. He does have a Jewish daughter and son-in-law. So, that I'm not shocked by that. I would rather he was more balanced in his, dealings with the Palestinians. But that's just Trump. I mean, he's always said he was going to be very pro-Israel, and he has.
Yeah, but he also made a lot of other promises on the campaign trail, like vaccine safety, Hillary in jail, trying to figure out why the cost of medical care was so high in this country. He dropped the ball on that one. And cleaning up our election system. None of those have gotten done. Now, I know that we're always hearing that just way over the hill there on the other side, there's a brand new factory that's hiring people. But I'm wondering how much of that is real and how much of that is just wishful thinking and propaganda. Because Trump is not above using propaganda to keep himself looking good. And the idea is...
I can see them building them. I mean, you can look on a Google map of Morristown, Tennessee, and you can see they're putting in new roads just because they have these kind of like factory areas. They're like industrial parks, and you go by them, and all you see are bulldozers and cranes, and even the airport's being extended, the small regional airport we have here. So yes, I can see that, and I don't have to apply for a job, although I was thinking about it. But I don't think it would be I'd get as much money as I do working on ships. But
all right, well,
I'd be home.
Thank you for the information, and I'm glad that it's working somewhere. But it's certainly not working out here in Hawaii, and of course, it's a little hard for us to engage in heavy manufacturing out here because we are an island. But I know that we're looking at like some of the economies along the west coast of the United States. They're not doing well at all. But we'll see. We'll see. And I'd like to get some more confirmation that these factories are in fact being built and are hiring up a bunch of people. And I could be wrong on that matter. But so far, my sense of it has been that Trump is proving to be a lackluster president. And he has been a disappointment on things like vaccine safety and honest elections. And the cost of medical care. That was another one that he promised us. Anyway, Joe, we're going to let you go. We got to take, we're coming up here on a commercial break. Over in Korea, Kim Jong-un's princess sister may have been kicked out of North Korea's ruling body, suggesting a fall from favor. Now, yesterday we were talking about how there appeared to be a lot of very dramatic changes going on in the ruling structure of North Korea. So apparently North Korea News is saying that she may have been kicked out. She was not listed. Kim Yo-jong was not listed as an alternate member of the ruling party's Politburo during an important party gathering last week. Now, she's widely referred to as North Korea's princess and has accompanied Kim Jong-un on multiple international events, including the recent summit with President Trump in Vietnam. So something happened there, and she's out of favor. Okay, former President Jimmy Carter, who's 94 years old, just keeps on going. He made a small statement during his regular Sunday school lesson at Maranatha Baptist Church in his hometown of Plains, Georgia. He teaches Sunday school every Sunday. And he came on out and basically said, the U.S. is the most warlike nation in history. And he's absolutely right. Now, Carter told the congregation that Trump feared China's growing economic strength and said that Trump is right to be concerned. Some experts are saying that China could overtake the U.S. as the world's largest economy by 2030 if current growth trends continue. And the former Democratic president said China was getting ahead of the U.S. because Washington has been at war with other countries for most of its history, and wars are very expensive. Okay, now we all admire the fighter pilots, the jet jocks, and they're sort of number one on the social hierarchy of flyers today. Back during World War II, it was the bomber pilots who were at the top, and the fighter escorts were number two, and then everybody below that. But a recent study at the RAND Corporation, sponsored by the Defense Department's Office of Net Assessment, is saying that maybe this fighter jock culture is counterproductive in terms of fostering innovation, and that maybe they have to work at sort of PCing everybody out to be on an equal footing and not let the egos get in the way. So we'll see what happens. Here's an article, this is out of BreakingTense.com, talking about a new Century series. Now, you have no idea what I'm talking about unless you're my age. Back in the 1950s, the newly independent Air Force fielded 6 new fighter jets from 5 different manufacturers in just 5 years. They were elegant, they were simple, they worked because each of them was built for a specific mission role. They didn't try and build one plane that did it all. There were fighters, there were interceptors, there were high-altitude planes, and they were called the Century series because they all began with F1 blank blank. So we're going to take a break for commercials, and we'll be right back.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll-free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
Do you know there is an ongoing war right here in America? Are you aware that U.S. citizens have been classified as enemies of the state since 1933? Have you recognized that our entire government is really a vast network of interlocking corporations engaged in commerce? Look up Title 28, Section 3002. Tune in to In Defense of Humanity on Saturday nights at 7 p.m. Central Time. Find out what's really going on and learn how to protect yourself and your family as flesh and blood men and women living in a corporate reality.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you some from Amazon.com. It really does work like the review says it does. I cannot believe that after the first few days, I didn't feel as sluggish or clogged up. It has had a profound impact on my physical, emotional well-being. I'm skeptical as most people about products and their claims, and I never write reviews, but this is a wonderful product and I recommend it to everyone. Great product. It has brought my blood pressure from the mid 150s over the 80s to the mid 130s over mid 80s, along with diet and exercise in just the past couple of months. Excellent. Thank you, David. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Visit us online at whatreallyhappened.com. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And we're talking about this Assistant Secretary for the Air Force for Acquisition Technology and Logistics, Will Roper. And apparently they just had this space symposium in Colorado Springs, and he came back very excited. And he's out there with this radical idea that we need to just stop trying to build one plane that does it all, because it winds up being too heavy and too bulky and too hard to maintain and too expensive. And he says we should go back to the days of the Century Series aircraft, where there were 5 fighters fielded by the Air Force from 5 different manufacturers, and each was tasked to a specific purpose that it did very well. So you had the F-104 Starfighter, that was an interceptor, if you remember the movie The Right Stuff, at the very end, that very sexy looking plane that crashes at the end there. The F-100 Super Sabre, the F-102 Delta Dagger, the F-101 Voodoo, and the F-105 Thunder Chief. I think we would definitely get more bang for our buck. Now, we heard the other day about the USS Wasp transiting near the South China Sea. And apparently this was a proof of concept, because the U.S. Marines are experimenting with a new concept. They're taking an amphibious assault ship and loading it up with F-35s. They're calling it a Lightning carrier. And they're saying that Lightning carriers armed with F-35s could theoretically take over operations in low-end conflicts, freeing up the super carriers to focus on higher-end threats such as Russia and China. So they're saying the light carriers could also boost the overall firepower of the Navy carrier force if you could afford the airplanes, which is a big sticking point, people. Those F-35s are not cheap. Navy Secretary Richard Spencer is defending a plan to retire the aircraft carrier Harry S. Truman early. Was supposed to be going into nuclear refueling in 2024. But now he's saying we're just going to mothball it, and it would save the Sea Service $30 billion over 25 years and allow the Navy to focus on buying 2 Ford-class carriers and modernizing the Navy. They're going to be fighting over that one here. Story coming out of shtfplan.com, and it's talking about how the Department of Defense is the world's worst bookkeeper. And the books are so atrocious. They're wrong about everything. It's impossible to detect just how bad the fraud and corruption that runs rampant through the Pentagon has become. And Matt Taibbi from Rolling Stone told Russia Today's Lee Camp he discovered it's not possible to make any sense of the books. He says at the end of the year, the Pentagon, for all we know, is just guessing at what they've spent and where it went. And that may explain why there's trillions of dollars missing from in there. All right, we got to take a break for station identification. We'll be right back.
Many people tell us about their experience with Extendivite. Just listen to what Glenn has to say.
Prior to taking it, I had diabetic neuropathy. The Extendivite reduced that significantly. Acid reflux was reduced. I had athlete's foot, very severe. Trimmed that down to about 75%. Dandruff, almost completely gone. I had occipital neuralgia at the base of my skull. I was having migraines, reduced by about 90%. Heart palpitations, my heart would kind of stall out. I would skip a beat, very uncomfortable. And when walking from downstairs going to sleep, by the time I got to the bedroom, which is just one flight of stairs, my heart was pounding, coming out of my chest. My vision was blurry. This completely solved that problem. Great product. Thanks.
Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
You're listening to Republic Broadcasting Network because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. Hour number 2. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. Now, Donald Trump is apparently decided, Tiger Woods over the weekend won the Masters. It's a golfing thing. And he won it. It's the first one he won in quite a few years. And so Donald Trump tweeted yesterday he plans to give Tiger Woods the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the nation's highest civilian honor, in recognition of his incredible success and comeback in sports. I'm sorry. I mean, I like Tiger Woods, but to me, this kind of cheapens that award. And I think it's very inappropriate. You want to give that Medal of Freedom to somebody, give it to Julian Assange. Now, Ilhan Omar is out there whining that she is getting increasing death threats, and it's all Donald Trump's fault by posting a video of her own words diminishing the terrorist attacks on 9/11. Apparently, they're not ready to let go of that one. So the president tweeted a video of Ilhan's controversial comments, noting that 9/11 involved some people who did something mixed with clips from the actual terrorist attacks. Now, as I understand it, the clip has been taken out of context because Ilhan Omar was saying, we don't really know who did what, which is accurate. But of course, with failure to go along with the official story was just heresy and treason. Okay, looks like Donald Trump does have a primary challenger in 2020. Bill Weld, 73-year-old former federal prosecutor, two-term governor of Massachusetts, and 2016 vice presidential nominee for the Libertarian Party, has announced yesterday he's officially running for president in the Republican primary against incumbent Donald Trump. And he said, I really think if we have 6 more years of the same stuff we've had out of the White House for the last 2 years, that would be a political tragedy. I would fear for the Republic. So I would be ashamed of myself if I didn't raise my hand and run. By the way, somebody did send me an article about that bus manufacturer in Belgium with 640 jobs to Morristown over 5 years are the actual numbers on that one. Okay. Now, Project Veritas has scored again. Apparently, Chase Bank, and remember, Chase is one of those 6 biggest banks that has been accused of ongoing criminality by the House Financial Committee. Chase Bank is saying it doesn't want to do business with those kind of people, with those kind of people being anybody who supports Donald Trump and the alt-right. They only want to do business with the liberals. So if you're a conservative doing business with Chase Bank, I would suggest strongly you close your account now because they don't want you there. And Project Veritas got this guy on audio tape just running down Trump supporters and saying, yeah, it's political. Everything's political. You know, there's a place for politics and there's a place to do your business. And when you get to a situation where politics dominates everything, then we're no better than the former Soviet Union, because that was a hallmark of the Soviet Union. Everything went through the filter of politics. Okay, looking at the economic news, over in the European oil markets, Russia is starting to replace Venezuelan crude because of the sanctions. And apparently, U.S. crude is not an alternative, as it is overwhelmingly light and sweet, while refineries in Europe are equipped to process the heavier grades as well as the light ones to make refined products. So, Russia is selling their oil to Europe despite the sanctions. Okay. Chinese diplomat, the Chinese ambassador to Santiago, called U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo a hypocrite after he tried to dissuade Chile from dealing with Beijing as the U.S. and China remain locked in a trade war. Remember I said, this is what the U.S. is doing. They're going to these other countries and they're twisting their arm and saying, don't do business with them. Do business with us. You buy our products. We'll buy your products. You don't do business with China. So Beijing's envoy to Chile, Xu Bu, said Pompeo has lost his mind and he's gone too far. He's saying the attacks against Chinese economic activities in the region are malicious and absurd. Now, Mike Pompeo earlier called Chinese investment projects in South America debt deal traps during a visit to Santiago. Beijing often injects corrosive capital into the economic bloodstream, giving life to corruption and eroding good governance. And by golly, that's our job. Okay, we're going to do a shout out now to our on-air affiliates who are just now rejoining our network. You know, I have to wonder, what is Trump thinking? First of all, there was that tweet about dropping water bombs from aircraft on the burning Notre Dame Cathedral. And then he came out with this one, where basically he tweeted out to Boeing that they need to fix the 737 MAX 8 planes, then add some great additional new features and rebrand the plane with a new name. That's Trump's solution. You know, after you get them fixed, you need to rebrand. Call it maybe the Trump Max or something. Okay, Reverend Andy Bales out in Los Angeles. He's basically in charge of the Union Rescue Mission. He says the homeless crisis has reached a breaking point. There are 41,000 transients living on the streets in Los Angeles County alone. 41,000. So Reverend Andy says, at this point, I'm very concerned about everyone in LA because we've really passed the tipping point of danger, because we've left so many people for so many years to be devastated on the streets. Apparently, the LAPD recently released new body cam video showing an interaction between police and a transient armed with a knife in downtown Los Angeles. In the clip, officers are seen reasoning with the transient in an effort to get him to drop his knife. Moments before, a woman inside the cafe described how the man had threatened to slice her throat. Police eventually had to fire half a dozen rounds of non-lethal force as the man used a chair to block the bullets. I'm going to imagine that it was probably pepper balls. Up in Seattle, drugs and homelessness take their toll on the city. Widespread drug use and homelessness is plaguing all the socialist regions of the country. From San Francisco, where pedestrians have to literally watch the homeless shoot up, to Los Angeles, where medieval diseases have returned thanks to policies which have made it impossible for the everyday American to scrape by anymore. Seattle is also in trouble. It's about the damage they inflict on themselves, to be sure, but also on the fabric of this place where we live. The story is about a beautiful jewel that has been violated, and a crisis of faith among the generation of Seattleites falling out of love with their home. Years of authoritarian socialist policies are taking their toll on America's cities. It's time to say enough is enough. It really is. It really is. Another article, this one from the Daily Mail in Great Britain, the blank streets of San Francisco. I'm sure you can figure out what that word's going to be. Revolting map reveals the staggering amount of human waste found on the storied city's streets as the homeless crisis spirals out of control. And I took a look at those maps, which you can zoom in and out of, and in some areas you can't zoom in tight enough to see the street. It's just that horrific. And of course, Claire and I stayed briefly in San Francisco when I was working on Day After Tomorrow. It was never like that. I mean, we saw a little bit. We saw a little homelessness and an occasional discarded syringe, but it's just completely out of control now. And nobody seems to want to do anything about it. As long as they're voting Democratic, that's all we really care about. Okay, we're going to take a phone call here from Kim in Orlando. Aloha, Kim. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Oh, hi, Mike. We're all praying for you here in Florida, for you and Claire.
Thank
and
you.
Hopefully maybe you'll come back to the mainland. But anyway, the biggest reason I called today is I have a number of friends that listen but don't always call, and I don't call very often. But I'm just defending Justin from New Jersey because he is a great contributor to your show. And we know that Trump has let us down in a few areas. However, the time that you give Justin or anybody on air doesn't warrant Justin to be able to name all the wonderful stuff that's going on in our country, because that stuff doesn't have to be worked on. But the stuff that they're failing on and the negative things that are going on that could be corrected by the right people if they stepped up to the plate are the things that Justin really addresses. Don't you agree?
I would tend to agree. I mean, sometimes, our callers will sort of wander far afield, and other times they've got very, very good points, and I try and give them the benefit of the doubt. But we definitely do need to look at things that we can do now. This country is falling apart. It's being ripped apart by greed, by political corruption. And by the way, in response to your earlier comment, yeah, Claire and I have to come back to the mainland. We literally cannot afford to live in Hawaii any longer. And we're heading for someplace around Indiana where we're only going to pay half the rent we pay now, and then we're going to have some money to pay off some bills.
Yeah, that'd be wonderful. I remember there was a time when people were taking up donations to get you here. That's how bad, we like you and what you offer, and you have a wonderful marriage with Claire, which there aren't like a lot of good marriages around. We respect people that stay together, of course.
Well, we're going to try and do this. We're going to try and do this without needing to do a fundraiser. But if push comes to shove, yeah, we'll do a GoFundMe to try and cover whatever we can't come up with ourselves.
Yeah. So all the listeners that like what Justin has to offer your show, I'm sure agree with me, and we'll back him up if anyone says anything negative about him. And by the way, years ago when we used to listen, you always used to end your show with "Eat lots of cinnamon." I do remember that little phrase.
No, that was somebody else.
Well, from what I remember, you would end your show and eat lots of cinnamon. And maybe you could ask someone else if they ever heard it, because I could swear it was you, because we do use lots of wonderful cinnamon, and it's so wonderful for you.
Well, so do I, but I don't recall ever using that as a tagline.
Yeah, okay. Well, you can ask Claire or anybody else that's listened, the last 10 years, and maybe someone else will remember. I mean, of course, I could be wrong, but I think it was you. So.
Okay. All right. Well, anything
Thanks, Mike,
else?
for taking my call. No, not really. Well, I was going to say, Mike, I think he lives in South Carolina. He's a common caller, and he offers a lot of wonderful stuff to your program as well. So we like him, too.
Okay, well, thank you very much for the phone call, and we're going to switch over to Robert in California. Aloha, Robert. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. I hate to backtrack you here, but you were talking about the homelessness issue out here in California. I'm stuck in the middle of California here. It's worse than you think, man. It's really bad.
Okay.
You know, they just recently did a poop map of San Francisco, right?
Yeah.
I mean, when it gets to that point, bro, we've got a problem. And, you know, I'm very much like you. I do not condone violence. But, you know, when it comes to something you said just a little bit ago, that we all just, it's time to stand up and do something. Well, you know, we can talk about it until we're blue in the face. In fact, a lot of us have been talking about it for a long time. And it's, well, what do we do? What can we do? We can talk, and they ignore us, and they keep making their laws, and they keep infringing on our rights, and they keep taking away our property, and they keep making life worse, and we're all sitting around talking about it. Now, I love talking about it because it educates people, but what do we do?
Well, again, I think this country is heading for a crash, a Soviet-style collapse of the central government, and we need to be prepared to get through that. And be ready to start a better country on the backside. And I like to use the Russian republics and the Soviet Union as an example.
Well, yeah, no, I understand. I've heard you say that a bunch of times, but you know, the Soviet Union wasn't supporting a third of the planet with their handouts. If the U.S. falls, do you realize how many other countries are going to follow? Because they're relying on our aid. I mean, It's going to be a really, really bad situation if that happens. And, you know, if our country does fall apart, there is not much of a chance that we're ever going to see this kind of freedom and constitutional value in a country anywhere ever again. I don't want to leave my children to that.
Well, I wouldn't want to leave my children to that either. You know, I'm hoping that we're going to create, you know, a restoration of the original constitutional republic, the Constitution and the first 13 amendments. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of nattering and gromishing, and people are going to be scrambling to try and warp the Constitution to their own particular advantage. But again,
that's what I'm afraid of.
There are two rules.
That's exactly what I'm afraid of.
There are two rules that I insist on. The first of all is no private central bank, ever, ever, ever. And the second one is that the career politicians from the failed regime are not allowed into the new government because, after all, they've proven themselves to be failures.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. I guess, you know, I've got all the preps made. I've got everything in order for me to be able to handle the year grid down, but I really worry about my neighbors, and I worry about my friends, and I worry about all the listeners to this show. And I really worry most about those people that aren't taking this seriously. This is getting out of hand, Mike. I mean, if you would have told me 20, 30 years ago that this was going to be like this, I would have signed you up for prescribed medication or something. But this is just, it's getting so bad. It's starting to really bake my bagel, as Dan Bongino said this morning. It really is baking my bagel.
Yep.
So, yeah, just, you know, I'm holding out, hoping maybe there's something we can do. I'd like to see patriots in this country actually stand up and preserve it rather than just sit back with a bunch of survival food and wait for it to fall apart. I'm not sure that's going to do any of us any good.
Well, again, I cannot condone a course of violence. The wrong people are...
You and me both.
Going to get hurt.
You and me both.
I don't think the American people are ready for any kind of a revolt. And I don't think they're psychologically prepared for it. So the only other option is to basically just sort of be patient, eat a pretzel, kick back, and watch the show, because we can see the system tearing itself apart.
Oh, yeah, we're going to watch it all fall apart, Mike, but I think it's going to affect us a lot more personally than you're giving it credit for, in a bad way. I really do.
Yep.
Hey, I hate to end on a bad note. I really just, I love your show. I love everything you do. Tell Claire I said hi. And go find that gecko in the backyard. Stick it back to your wall. We miss your gecko.
I'm afraid the gecko is no more. They have a short lifespan. Thank you for the phone call. We're going to switch over to Terry in California. Aloha, Terry. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike, the previous caller doesn't have any corner on homelessness. I'm calling from Southern California, and it's just getting as bad as San Francisco area around here. There's tents they pitched up on the main street up here, homeless, and they're living out of abandoned cars up there. And this is something that wouldn't have been allowed 5 years ago, but now they're not doing anything about it. I mean, you call the police and complain, but they don't do anything because I guess there's nowhere to take them, you know. And
That's the
and
problem we
cities
have
are
here
all
on
going
Oahu.
broke.
We've got 8,000 homeless people on this island, and they try and keep them away from the tourist areas. But the reality is, where are they going to go? What do we expect them to do? Walk back to the mainland?
Yeah, and I just had a car towed away in the alley back here this morning. And I was talking to the policeman that escorted tow truck, and he was talking about the drug problem, you know. And I understand, like a heroin fix is only $10 now compared to what it used to be. I don't know if that's true or not, but you know, it's cheap. And it turned a lot of these kids in this neighborhood into thieves. They're stealing bikes and stealing stuff at night. You know, they just arrested this kid next door. There's the music, Mike.
All right, Terry, stay on the
Yeah,
line. I'm going to
stay
come
or
back
should
to
I
you
go?
after the commercials. We'll be right back.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
When your doctor tells you you have bad cholesterol or blockages in the arteries, what do? When diet and exercise is not enough, we try medications and hope for the best. For the last 2 decades, I have been telling people about a natural method to help solve these problems and more. Extendovite can help maintain cardiovascular health and lower blood lipid levels in adults. The 7 herbs in Extendovite are known to work together synergistically to get the results we hope for. There are many testimonials on Extendovite's effect on circulatory-related ailments. Get Extendovite today to start your journey back to a healthier life. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or see us on amazon.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge $20, $30, $40, $50, if possible, $100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're still talking with Terry in California. And boy, I got to tell you, I mean, I lived pretty much in California longer than I lived anywhere else. I mean, obviously there was the growing up in New England. There's the time that Claire and I have spent here in Hawaii, which is dragged on way too long. But I have more or less good memories of both Los Angeles and San Francisco. And I'm hearing all these horror stories. And yeah, I've got that poop map is actually linked to whatreallyhappened.com. And it's just, you wonder, how do the people of San Francisco put up with this stuff? Are they just numb to it? You know, is anybody trying to, like, you know, clean it up or get it into the storm drains, or what's happening?
Well, what they're doing is moving out of here, you know, especially the ones that they're feeling the brunt of the tax increases from Newsom.
Yes.
You know, his attitude is, you know, these people can afford it, so we'll just raise the taxes on them, but they're not taking it this time. I forgot the figure, but I thought it was something like 1,000 people a day are moving out of here, and I'm going to be one of them. And so then the whole thing's just going to go down. But, Mike, the real reason I called is the comment you made about Bill Weld running against Trump.
Yep.
I was kind of supporting the Libertarians when he ran with Gary Johnson on the Libertarian ticket. And, you know, he realized they weren't going to win. So what he was doing is talking up Hillary Clinton. He was campaigning off the record for Hillary Clinton. I heard him talk about her when he was running for president at the same time. So, you know, beware of this guy. You know, he's not something what we want, I don't think. And,
well, I'm not saying that he is. I'm just glad that somebody's, you know, going to give Trump a run for his money.
Yeah, but I favor somebody else. But anyway, that's the only point I wanted to make, and I'll talk to you next time.
All right. Well, thanks an awful lot here. And I'm looking at an email that just came on in. It's titled Homeless in West Covina. West Covina is the city that I lived in, my parents and I lived in when I went to high school. It says the homelessness in West Covina is also becoming alarming. I also routinely see the homeless walking the streets and camping out in strip malls. They're sleeping in the washes and creating illegal electrical hookups which have caused fires. Not one trash day passes without multiple homeless making their way up the street, emptying everyone's garbage cans in search of things that can be recycled. All of the local parks are becoming overnight sleeping locations. Covina Park in Covina has so many homeless in it these days and on a 24/7 basis that the residents are afraid to go there anymore for any reason. Yep. That is really, I remember Covina Park. And I remember it's just horrific. You can't say this nation has a healthy economy when so many people are homeless and out of work. You know, I'm sorry, one bus manufacturer doesn't fix the problem. We're talking about 100 million Americans who have not been able to find work for months, if not years. And one or two little factories over here in Tennessee doesn't even begin to address the problem. I'm sorry. Okay, let's go back to the phones. Tom in Florida. Aloha, Tom. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, good day, Michael. Good day, Michael. What's on my mind is, first off, Sherry yesterday was talking about the veterans in L.A. are getting treated worse than the illegals that are coming in there. But what's on my mind, Michael, is what I heard yesterday on Wayne Allen Root show. I don't know if you ever heard of Wayne Allen Root. I'm sure you have.
Yes.
Have you heard of him?
I've heard of him.
Well, he on the show yesterday. He was talking about the cartels, and they're making $600 billion a year, and they're literally paying off the Democrats and the Republicans are getting money out of them. I don't know what he was actually referring as far as who's getting all this money, but according to him, if they even got 1% of that $600 billion, the Democratic Party, of course, they're going to want all the drugs and the illegals to come flood into our country. When you have 70,000 Americans dying from fentanyl overdoses and drug overdoses, Michael, that is a total. What else can you call but a war?
Yes.
And an invasion. And this guy Root was saying that, and he was the one that was throwing in Trump's ear that you need to throw all these illegals in these sanctuary cities, which is 100% true. All those illegals should be going to San Francisco. Okay? Let them go to
Yes.
San Francisco. It's a sanctuary city. Let them live with Pelosi. But if this is correct, and these parties are getting this kind of money, Michael, the treason is beyond belief. We can't even comprehend the treason that's going on in this country against the American public, the American people. You know, and I'm just, if it's 1% of that money is going to these Democrats and rhinos, Michael, I think it's over. The game's over, man. I really do. I believe the game's over as far as it's just, that's what it is, a big giant game of people swiping money. And then you have that clown Bernie Sanders yesterday in that thing on Fox News. Oh, talking about it's free health care. Who's going to pay for all this, Bernie? Who's going to pay for it? And there's something else I'd like to tell you, Michael, before you.
All right, Tom, I need to put you on hold. I need to put you on hold. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, keep it today.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds, up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more. Plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AirOutfitting.com.
We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. We're talking with Tom in Florida. And Tom, just pick it up where you left off.
Yeah, Michael. Bernie Sanders yesterday was talking on Fox News about illegal immigration. Blah, blah, blah. I tell you what, I think we should take 1 million of those illegals and ship them right to Vermont and put them right there in all over the cities of Vermont. And let's see how the people of Vermont they say they're too white. Well, you know what? Let's give them 1 million of them. And let's as far as Cher and all these Hollywood celebrities, Michael, can you imagine if Donald Trump does get another 4 years? Are they going to go to Canada? Are they going to go to Australia? Are they going to jump out of buildings? What's going to happen if Donald Trump does get another 4 years and he does change that Supreme Court with 2 or 3 more justices?
Well, I remember all those people, promised they were going to move to Canada. That never happened.
There you go. And you got this Ruth Gator Ginsburg. She's 86 years old. She can barely stand up. And I mean, she, they knew she blew it when she didn't go at 215 when Obama could have put another younger liberal in there. So they can't stand the fact that Trump is going to put that Amy Barrett on the court. That's going to blow their mind. And then he might get another 1 or 2 picks. I mean, I could see these Democrats. It'd be like 1929. They'd be jumping out of buildings. It'd be like the Great Depression for maybe 30 years for the Democratic Party, 40 years. So I'm just hoping Trump does get back in here, Michael, because I can tell you, I want to see what these celebrities are going to do. And it's really amazing to me that Cher changed now her attitude on immigration.
Yes.
Before she was all this open borders, now that she's seen all these Vietnam vets and homeless vets and Iraqi vets walking the streets of L.A., she has a different tune now. So, it's just crazy what's going on with this immigration situation. And like I said, Wayne Allen Root hit it right on. If these cartels are bringing in so much money, the Democrats are overwhelmed with all this cash they're getting.
Yes.
I don't know if that's true, but maybe you can research it, Michael. You probably know a lot more about that than I do. But
the drug corruption of our government goes all the way back to the 1980s and Iran-Contra. Everybody was dipping in.
Absolutely.
There was huge amounts of money that was coming in.
More money in drugs than there is in oil.
Yes.
I believe. That's what I heard. So, as far as we're having this, we have a lady here in Florida, Michael. She's giving a speech tonight. I don't know if you heard of this. She used to be the president of the University of Miami, Shalala. She's another left-wing liberal nut job. And, you got a lot of people here in Florida are talking about what's going on in Venezuela and Cuba. And, we'll use Cuba as an example real quickly. Cuba, for 60 years, Michael, they've been, the embargo. Well, you know what? The embargo should have been on. We should be making free trade with Cuba. But, Michael, what does Cuba have to offer, really, except sugar? What do they have to offer?
They have really good cigars and really good rum.
Well, cigars, okay. I'll give you that. You're right. They got good cigars, correct.
They got tourism.
But other than that, Michael, tourism, they got beautiful beaches. That's for sure. And but again, that was another disgrace that's been perpetrated on our foreign policy. I don't get what's happened there either. As far as what did it improve?
One of the few things I agreed with Obama on was his attempt to normalize relations with Cuba, because the embargo has gone on for way too long, and especially when we're going into a world where we're going to be confronting Russia and China, the last thing we wanted was to have Cuba, shall we say, ripe for recruitment by Russia, and Donald Trump just threw that all away.
I have to agree with you on that too. However, Cuba's a hard nut to crack, Michael, because Cuba has a mindset that goes back hundreds of years, and I'm talking maybe probably right before Teddy Roosevelt went in there and freed him from Spain.
Yep.
But that's a hard nut to crack with Cuba. It really is, because they want, Michael, they're no better off than they were 60 years ago. Trust me. In a lot of ways, they're not. So.
No, I think probably they're a lot worse off after 60 years of embargo.
Well, that's correct. That's correct. And unless you're a Communist Party member, you don't have an AC you don't have a window shaker in your house. You don't have a hot shower. 90% of the homes at that island do not have hot water heaters. Believe me.
Okay.
So it's amazing.
You keep trying to spin this that this is somehow the Cuban people's fault, and it isn't. It is the result of 6 decades of U.S. embargo.
I'm saying it's the government's fault. The government of the it's both governments' fault. It really is. I'm not saying it's the people's fault. No, not at all. I'm saying it's the government's fault over there, and then over here. And over here, because, Michael, we still have a Guantanamo, we have a base over there that we have a 100-year lease on. We have battleships going in on that island.
Yes.
We have a thing called Guantanamo. We have a prison over there where we keep all the terrorists at. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
So that's what I'm saying. I'm not blaming any people. I'm blaming the governments for allowing that. Should have never happened like that. Never.
I agree. Okay, well, listen, Tom, I got to let you go. We're running a little long here. Art off the grid. Aloha, Art. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. I missed the first hour, so I'm not knowing.
You didn't miss much.
Not knowing what you may or may not have said about Bernie Sanders and his little comment about raising taxes to pay for free health care. I figured let's go with something that we can be safe on, and that is to reflect on, I think it was 2 callers ago when he made the statement, and it kind of struck with me a little bit, because I've been told, oh, you're this really great, hardcore prepper, but you don't care about anybody but yourself. Well, when I heard that caller talk about he's got his preps in gear for a year and whatever, and then that's good. I commend you. Bravo. Kudos, however you want to put it. I salute you. I'm proud of you. You did good. You got a year's prep. Hey, right on, dude. But you can't be worried about your neighbors and other people unless you intend to share with them, and then only if they've been a part of helping with the preps. The only other time you should be concerned with your neighbors, if you have any, which thankfully I don't, is it when they start getting hungry. Because remember, after 24 hours, your friends are going to be willing to ask from you. After 3 days without food, your neighbors are going to be willing to steal from you. After a week without food, your neighbors are going to be willing to kill you. And this is what you need to keep in mind. You cannot be worried about your neighbors not being prepped. If you've been talking to them, they've heard this time and time and time again. It's not your fault if they don't prep. I'm not worried about my other people here because I look at it like this. If I spend my time worrying about those who have not taken the time and made the effort to prep, even after they've been warned repeatedly for the 20 years that I've been prepping, well, you know what? Too damn bad. If I start worrying about them, I'm going to give myself a freaking stroke, an aneurysm, a heart attack, something. You see what my nerves are going to be shot. I don't have time to be worried about people.
Yep.
You can't be worried about them. If they've not made the preps, shame on them. They will suffer the consequences in the end. Call me cold-hearted. That's okay. I've been called worse. Call me mean. Oh, I've been called much worse. Call me an a-hole. Now you're getting real close.
Okay.
But that's just my views on worrying about others. You just can't. You can't.
No,
Stop
you don't have
worrying
that
about
much
them.
money.
Right. Worry about yourself and your family.
Yes.
Anyone beyond that, hey, sorry to be them, guys. That's my record. That's my advice to you. I'm glad you've got your preps in order. Bravo. But don't worry about anyone other than yourself and your family. That's all you have time to worry about. No one else outside of you and your family are you responsible for.
Okay.
All right. Have a great one, man.
All right. Thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go. The phone lines are now open. Okay. Getting on back to San Francisco. One of San Francisco's attractions there is Lombard Street. It's billed as the crookedest street, and people will drive up there just to drive down the street. About 6,000 people a day in the summer visit this 600-foot-long street, clogging the Russian Hill neighborhood with lines of cars. So San Francisco has decided they're going to have an online reservation system for your turn, and a per vehicle fee. You're going to have to now pay a small tax to drive down Lombard Street, which is kind of interesting because the taxpayers already paid for Lombard Street. Interesting little story. When I was working on Day After Tomorrow, and I was actually riding the cable cars to get to work, and we'd go by Lombard Street. And so this one day, the cable car driver is saying, "This is Lombard Street. It's the world's crookedest street." And I said, "No, it's the world's second crookedest street." And he said, "What's the world's crookedest street?" And I go, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And half the people in the cable car laughed, and the other half gave me stink face. So a couple of days later, and I'm back on that same cable car, and all the cable car drivers are using that joke. I apparently had an impact on the pop culture of San Francisco. Anyway, as we mentioned, Cher, who only a short time ago was saying people need to take an illegal immigrant into their homes, and she was going to do it, didn't happen, is now out there saying, we can't take any more in Los Angeles. She says, I understand helping struggling immigrants, but my city, meaning Los Angeles, isn't taking care of its own. What about the 50,000 plus citizens who live on the streets, who live below the poverty line and hungry? And she's got an absolute point. The system is just really strained. But at issue, of course, is Donald Trump's decision to take these sanctuary cities and sanctuary counties and sanctuary states at their word and say, okay, you're a sanctuary for illegal immigrants. Here are the illegal immigrants. And of course, everybody's gone NIMBY on this. In fact, there was one commentator on TV, I'm blanking on his name, Jake Tappet, I think it may have been, was trying to explain why it's actually illegal for Donald Trump to bus the illegal immigrants to the sanctuary cities. That's how wacko they are. You know, illegal immigrants all over the country, put them into the red districts, turn them blue here, but we're already blue out here. We don't need any more. Okay, down in Laredo, Texas, a public health official has said 20 migrants from the Democratic Republic of the Congo were monitored for Ebola and other diseases. I'm glad they're doing that. So African and Haitian migrants across the river on the border between Guatemala and Mexico. They've got 8 Congolese right now in one of the shelters and a dozen in Nuevo Laredo. For them, my concern was Ebola, but we're alert to check that. It's only a matter of time. Only a matter of time. Now, Mark Morgan, who was a career FBI official who served as Border Patrol chief during the last 6 months of the Obama administration, told Fox Business host Maria Bartiromo, the U.S.-Mexico border crisis has reached historic proportions. It's the worst in the history of the country. And he says this is not just a crisis, this is a crisis like we've never experienced in the history of this country since we began tracking the numbers. Now, Robert Sarah, he's an African cardinal who serves as the head of the Vatican's liturgy office. He's often named in traditional circles as most likely to succeed Pope Francis. And he's out there saying that mass migration is an invasion, and it will lead to the extinction of Europe if it is not stopped. Those who seek to use the Bible to promote migration are pushing a false interpretation of the scriptures, and he branded mass migration a new form of slavery. So he's definitely out there making some waves with this one. Here in Hawaii, we have this facility called Red Hill, and it is an underground, subterranean fuel storage facility. It's just up that way a little bit. And the state of Hawaii is very unhappy that it is there. Now, it was actually under construction when Pearl Harbor was struck by the Japanese, because it was recognized even then the fuel tanks sitting out there in the open were an obvious target, and it remains an historical mystery to this day why the Japanese didn't bomb them. But apparently the Japanese thought we just had so much oil, it was a pointless exercise. and they overestimated the amount of oil we had. Had they taken out that tank farm, Midway could have easily gone the other direction, but I digress. So anyway, we've got this underground fuel farm called Red Hill. It is sitting over one of the largest aquifers here on Oahu. And there have been a couple of cases where these tanks will leak. There was one back in 2015 where one of the fuel tanks at Red Hill leaked, and the state of Hawaii, the Hawaii Department of Health, came to an agreement with the Navy that they were going to move the tanks. Now, the state of Hawaii has no legal authority to force the Navy to do this. They're kind of just hoping the Navy would consider doing it out of the goodness of their heart. Personally, I don't think so. It's a huge, huge facility. And I'm not sure where they could put it where they wouldn't be over somebody's aquifer here. Okay, talking about computers, and this one actually made the corporate media. Amazon reviews are not to be trusted. Apparently, Amazon shoppers are being conned by thousands of fake 5-star reviews for unknown tech brands. And apparently, these tech brands are made in China. They're skewing customer searches and choices on Amazon. An examination by which found many products that have no record of success or independent assessment carry these 5-star customer reviews. So they're fake reviews. Just like we get fake movie reviews over on RottenTomatoes.com. We live in a world of fakery. Online fakery is big business. Big, big business. All right, we got to take another break for commercials. We'll be right back.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
The reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Here are some from Amazon. September 2018. Extendivite works in keeping my blood pressure in the normal range. I've been using Extendivite for many years now. May 2018. Great product. I use regularly and I rarely get sick. March 2018. This product has relieved what appeared to be angina pain in my chest and shortness of breath after climbing stairs. I'm quite happy about it. February 2018. My husband, son, and I have been using this product for a few months now, and we have noticed an improvement in our joints and blood pressure. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822, or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
Welcome to What Really Happened Radio. Visit us online at whatreallyhappened.com. And now, set your eyes on the future and let's consider what really happened.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. And everybody's talking, of course, about Bernie Sanders. He's out there campaigning already, and he's campaigning on his Medicare for All because it sounds so much better than socialized medicine. And like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Bernie Sanders has developed a, shall we say, a deaf spot when it comes to anybody asking him, how are you going to pay for it all? Remember when Alexandria was campaigning, she had all these giveaway things she was going to do, and everybody could say, how are we going to pay for it? She'd say, oh, we'll just pay for it. Okay, how? We'll just pay for it. How? We'll just pay for it. Same thing with Bernie Sanders. It is estimated at a minimum it will take $16.2 trillion in tax hikes to fund the Medicare for All plan. Unless Donald Trump keeps one of his other campaign promises and figures out why the cost of medical care in this country is so high, so out of control, so out of sync with other countries. I know people who fly to other countries for their medical care. They can't afford it here in the United States. Trump said he was going to look at that. Hasn't happened. If we were to get the cost of medical care on a par with other nations, get the cost of prescription medications on a par with other nations, we wouldn't be looking at $16.2 trillion in tax hikes. There is too much greed in corporate America, unfortunately. Okay, over in Minnesota, there is this farmer, and he just put up a Facebook video. Mark Berg, he's 26 years old, did a 6-minute long video. It's been viewed already 300,000 times, just talking about how they're having to take loans just to pay the bills. They are that desperate economically. They can't compete with the corporate-run dairies and farms that hire illegals to do the work while they rake in the money. The corporate farms get deals on regulations, taxes, and fees. It's not fair to the average farmer, rancher, or dairyman. So this guy basically was out there making the Facebook video saying the average salary in his industry has dropped to just $15,000 a year. Now, right now, I would think, given the massive flooding on the Midwest and various other impediments to our food chain, that we would be taking care of our farmers. We'd be going out there to anybody who can farm, small, medium, corporate, and supporting them, boosting them, and saying, yes, get some plants going. Otherwise, we're going to be in serious trouble later in the year. According to Dan Bongino, Dems want to bump up the payroll tax to 14%. Ooh, more money, 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 money. All right, we're going to take a break for station identification. We'll be right back.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
This is RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network.
What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you'll find out what the Fukushima's going on.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. So we're talking about the effects of all this unbridled immigration, refugee status, open borders. And there's an article was on Fox News, how Minneapolis Somali community became the terrorist recruitment capital of the U.S. And it's basically talking about how FBI statistics are showing 45 Somalis left to join the ranks of either the Somalia-based Islamic insurgency al-Shabaab or the Iraq and Syria-based ISIS combined. So they're doing a lot of recruiting right here in Minneapolis. And it's not just the terror recruiting. There was an ugly incident about a week and a half ago where this 24-year-old Somali man threw a 5-year-old white boy off the 3rd floor balcony of the Mall of America at Bloomington, Minnesota. That was a 40-foot drop. The boy survived, had to be hospitalized. The man has been captured. He's being held in suspicion of attempted homicide. How do you do that to a 5-year-old kid? It's amazing. It's a mess. We weren't meant to be forced together at this stage. Those people who can blend together should be allowed to blend together. But forcing everybody together when it's not ready to happen, you get things like this. Okay, California Congressman Eric Swalwell is out there running for president. The central plank in his campaign is to get those military-style assault weapons, and he's already been busted with all kinds of erroneous data. He's basically taken the position that virtually all gun crime is committed with AR-15s and AK-47s, which is utter nonsense. Actually, it's only a tiny minority. Most gun crime is committed with small handguns, Saturday Night Specials, throwaways. So Swalwell has made the anti-gun crusade the centerpiece of his campaign, and he's calling for a buyback and a ban on all assault weapons, not just to ban future manufacturing, but just to take the 15 million that are out there and buy them back. Well, how can the government purchase something back that never belonged to it in the first place? And needless to say, out on Twitter, he's getting the usual come and take it response. And I think Eric and the Democrats need a rethink on this, because this really militant, we're going to grab the guns, is going to drive a lot of voters to the Republican side in 2020. There's been a new study. This is from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. And it answers directly to gun control advocates who have basically dismissed the narrative about defensive uses of firearms, saying the good guy with a gun is a scenario meant to scare people into buying guns for self-defense, that it does not really happen. Well, this is a false narrative, and I know that because I had to do it once when I was younger. But the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in a 2013 report concluded that studies routinely find Americans use firearms in defense of themselves or others up to 3 million times every year. That's 3 million times every year. I think that rivals the police department, if it doesn't exceed it. Out in Colorado, they've become the 15th state to adopt a red flag gun law, which allows individuals to be flagged by household members or acquaintances who file a court order, much like a restraining order, deeming the person a threat, which will subsequently lead to that person getting raided by police for complete disarmament. One of the sheriffs in that part of Colorado is saying he will not enforce it. I mean, the red flag laws, if you think about it, it's one of those things that sounds good in theory, let's get to the crazies before they go crazy. But on the other hand, you're punishing people for something they haven't done. It's like Minority Report here. Gun control of activists and politicians are now working on a new target. They want banks to refuse service to gun companies. Simply just cut them off. We don't do business with your kind. Okay, well, tell your bank guards to turn their weapons in. We'll take them with us when we leave. And we knew this was coming. Police are now using drones to spy on suspicious people at potential crime scenes. Now, for years, as the drones have been coming on, law enforcement keeps saying drones are only going to be used for natural disasters, crime scene investigations, car accidents, and rescue operations. That, too, turned out to be a lie. And apparently, down in Texas at the Memorial Villages Police Department, they are basically using drones to simply spy on people. And it's sort of a combination of RoboCop goes full Minority Report. All right, we're going to do a shout out to our on-air affiliates who are just now rejoining our network. Now, here's a very bizarre story, and I'm glad I don't live in Dallas. Okay, Dallas, Texas is 29% white. The new black district attorney, John Creuzot, has a plan to stop prosecuting thefts under $750 to help people of color from being arrested. That's his plan. He ran on a platform of ending mass incarceration, meaning arresting black and brown criminals, and now he's basically said there will be no prosecution of theft of personal items worth less than $750. So all you thieves in Dallas, $750, that's your cutoff. You can't be prosecuted. I think it's a dumb idea. It's a dumb idea. It's politics again, the politics of race. All right, let's talk about computers here a little bit. And there's this article that came out of ZDNet. And they set up these target computers called honeypots. And they're set up in these cloud data centers in California, Ohio, Sao Paulo, Ireland, London, Paris, Frankfurt, Mumbai, Singapore, and Sydney, and connected them to the internet with common configuration errors such as default credentials or insecure passwords. Each of the honeypot sites simulates a secure shell remote access service designed to allow users to connect remotely to the device and access files. If attackers can bypass the secure shell, they can gain the same level of access as the owner of the server. It took under a minute for attackers to start to find the honeypots and use brute force attacks against them. The Sao Paulo site first came under attack with the first login attempt registered after just 52 seconds. The stuff is out there just crawling around the net. Just amazing out there. To me, that says state actor. Now, everyone's talking about the new copyright laws over in the European Union and how onerous they are for the people of EU to have to deal with, how onerous they are for web service providers to have to comply with. But a new analysis has come on out, and this was in the Daily Mail, showing that the new EU internet copyright laws will actually give U.S. web giants a huge financial advantage, along with subjecting Europeans to mass surveillance and data privacy, so forth and so on. Okay, we're going to take another phone call. Dustin in New Jersey, I take it you have a reply to Joe in Tennessee.
Yeah. Mike, I want Joe to call in all the time because he's right on a lot of stuff. Not everything, but 99% of the time, and I'm wrong a lot of times. I'm not perfect. You know, nobody is. But, Mike, Trump, all right, so let me just give you some facts. All right, you said that the buses are being by a Belgium company, but there's also a bus company from China that's being built in the United States for Saudi Arabia with like a couple, like 1,000 buses. But Joe, you don't realize, like, remember when the jobs numbers came out was it a quarter or two ago? We had 20,000 jobs added. Remember that, Mike?
Yep.
Well, remember the one after that? There was all like 100 and something thousand jobs added, but it was negative manufacturing.
Yes.
It was negative. Well, if Trump's responsible for, say, up to 2,000 or 5,000 jobs added, then wouldn't he responsible for like negative 20,000 jobs reduced? You can't. We always say Trump's going to bring jobs. I'm talking about the system. The system, if Trump can do it or not, but Trump's not doing it. That's what I'm trying to say. Trump's not putting people in to really do what needs to be done. That's what I'm saying. Trump by himself, you can't. Trump as a president doesn't do anything with the economy.
Yeah.
It's the people he puts in as a whole, as a group, because of the system is corrupted. That's why you got all the illegals, like Tom says, streaming in for cheap labor and this or that. But nothing's being done. And Tom, Joe, where's the wall? The wall stops cheap labor from coming in. Nothing's being done with that. And if you go back and just look at the numbers as a whole, it's negative. It's negative with positive numbers being in like the sectors that are like Burger King jobs. That's it. That's nothing. That's nothing. You're not going to mortgage a house working at Burger King.
No, you're not.
Okay? That's a fact. You know, like that. Joe, look at the numbers just for the last, and you know, Obama the same way. It's the system. You know, they can say they can add jobs or this or that, but it's the system as a whole. And if the president doesn't have a team, and you put Larry Kudlow in, come on. If you don't have a team to really do the true job, not just a screw job, you know what I mean? Like just a facade to get to the next election, then nothing's going to be fixed. That's what I'm trying to say, Mike, okay? Have a good show.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go. And normally we have a 1 call per caller per day rule, but every once in a while Dustin is in high dudgeon and needs to respond. Okay, we're talking about computers. We're talking about databases. Article out of BrassCheck.com saying that the internet is under attack, and now they're trying to shut down the independent servers. I've noticed hack attempts on my server have gone up recently. This server handles it a lot more elegantly than the last one. But yeah, we're in a war between the liars and those who want to get the truth out there. The liars have got all the money. They lied to get it. And so we're looking at this where they're going after the independent servers now, trying to shut them down. So there's going to have to be a test case where somebody with an independent server gets shut down and they go all the way to the Supreme Court and they say, this is about the First Amendment. Apparently up in the Michigan government, they've decided to create a thought criminal database to flag those who contradict all the official lies. This is coming from Michigan's Attorney General Dana Nessel. Has decided to basically launch a full-scale crusade against the First Amendment. According to reports, Nessel is planning to create a hate crime unit as part of Michigan's government, the purpose of which won't necessarily be to prosecute hate crimes, which aren't a real thing, by the way, but to actually police the speech and thoughts of Michigan residents to make sure they align with official government ideology. So apparently Nessel wants to create a database of people who dare to think for themselves. It's a thought violation. You're committing a thought crime, Mr. Orwell. Anyway, over in Barcelona, Spain, they have started removing books like Little Red Riding Hood and Sleeping Beauty from the elementary schools because they perpetuate sexist stereotypes according to the PC people. Amazing. Over in New York, de Blasio declares a health emergency. He orders measles vaccinations in Brooklyn, one specific neighborhood. Holdouts face a $1,000 fine. The yeshiva schools warned they'll be shut if they resist. Now, some of these families are suing over the order. They're saying the order is unlawful, it's anti-Semitic and totalitarian. Well, they're saying it's anti-Semitic because de Blasio's order did target specifically the Jewish population. And the reason he did that is there's a measles outbreak in Israel. And because the Israelis don't require any kind of visa checks, they're just flying back and forth and back and forth. They're bringing it back to New York with them. So that's why de Blasio said we have to get ahead of this. Now, apparently, New York parents who are not trusting of the measles vaccines are holding measles parties. I remember this happened when I was a kid, which is they'll have a kid who's got the measles and they'll throw a party and they'll bring all the kids around so that they all come down with the measles so they don't have to get vaccinated. Because if you get measles naturally, your immunity to it is lifetime. If you get the measles vaccine, it doesn't last forever. So the measles parties have come on back, and I'm not surprised here. Down in Australia, if you question vaccines there, you could be thrown in prison for 10 years. Government authorities in Australia recently decreed that any medical professional who dares to express skepticism about the safety or efficacy of vaccines will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law, including a potential prison sentence of up to 10 years. That is really strict. Nurses and midwives who try to explain to pregnant women that some vaccines contain neurotoxic mercury, for instance, or that aborted human fetal tissue is often used to manufacture vaccines, will now face the ire of Australia's medical police states, which insists all vaccines are 100% safe and effective. The Australian government has also set up a snitch program for medical offenders to be reported by their friends, colleagues, or others who suspect they might be in violation of this new speech code. It really is 1984. Little informants. Okay, UPS is getting ready to partner with drug giants to inject you with vaccines in your own home. They're starting a pilot project which will be a blueprint for a nationwide vaccine mandates at gunpoint. Merck, who's the maker of the risky vaccine Gardasil, is partnering with UPS to carry out this door-to-door vaccine initiative. I mean, that is really out there. That is really out there. Okay, story coming out of WakingTimes.com. Merck's own product warning links the MMR vaccine to a potentially fatal form of brain inflammation caused by measles. But trust us, the vaccine is perfectly safe. This is being reported by the CDC and not being reported anywhere else. You're certainly not going to see it on the corporate media. They're too dependent on that glorious pharmaceutical advertising budget here. Over in Britain, they're getting ready to ban everyone from privately discussing vaccine ingredients, side effects, and damage to children. Talk about a medical tyranny. You will love your vaccines, you will stick it in your child's arm, and if your child gets sick, it's because you beat the kid up. We're going to throw you in jail. It's just absurd. We're seeing this clamp down on freedom of speech and freedom of thought and freedom of idea. Facebook apparently is developing a system to weed out posts that are critical of pharmaceutical companies and their vaccine policies. All right, going to take a break for commercials. We'll be right back.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you some from Amazon.com. This product is superb. I have been taking it for about a year now, and I can feel my cardiovascular system run like a Swiss watch. I definitely recommend this product for anyone that has high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and heart palpitations, A+. It's potent, but it works. I have been waking up for the past 3 years with numb hands, and a week into using Extendivite, my numb hands seem to have cleared up. My circulation was off, and now it's back on track. So I'm happy. I feel so energized, and I have my husband on it now. My mother-in-law has cholesterol problems, so I bought her a bottle as well. Thank you so much. Love the product. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge $20, $30, $40, $50, if possible, $100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
Some are maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, just try it yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far $5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. And seem to be getting some loud feedback here. All right, we're going to go to the phones here. Jim in New York. Aloha, Jim. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. You had an interesting caller yesterday that speculated that there could have been a fire accelerant in the Notre Dame Cathedral. And I wouldn't doubt it. Here's something interesting. The burning of the Notre Dame is exactly 1 month after the March 15th Christchurch massacre in New Zealand. Also, according to the New Arab website, around the same time as Notre Dame, a fire broke out at the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem.
Yes.
I keep telling people, see the Star Trek episode, The Day of the Dove, getting Muslims and Christians to fight each other. And I think these are very likely arsons to ignite hatred between Muslims and Christians. And it looks very suspicious. What do you think?
Well, again, the official story is there's no sign of arson, that it's being investigated as an accident. Of course, who knows what the police are going to find when they get the forensics people up there to the base of where the spire used to be. I don't want to jump to any conclusions because I can understand the need for caution here, that if somebody were to just get on out there and say, yes, I'm convinced the Muslims burned down Notre Dame, we could see rioting all across Europe and a lot of innocent people get killed.
Well, I was also reading that ISIS was some group affiliated with ISIS was celebrating the Notre Dame fire. So that was on one site that I read. So I really believe we're being manipulated. They're flooding Europe and the United States with Muslims. And then at the same time, they're getting us fighting each other. And who knows, these could all be CIA/Mossad operations.
Yeah, they could be, although I tend to think there would be more Mossad than CIA. I can't see the CIA getting involved in a plan to have Christians and Muslims kill each other off. After all, they're all potential drug customers.
Well, yeah, but I mean, they flood Europe with Muslims, and then it causes this chaos. Don't get me wrong, I'm against Muslim. I'm against any immigration to the United States. We have to take care of our own people.
I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. The situation is just totally out of control.
Hey, did you ever think, it's just a thought, I like to try to think outside the box. You ever think Julian Assange could be a double agent? That he could actually be working for someone? I was reading, he doesn't believe in 9/11 truth. He believes the government story. And he may
I thought he'd changed his mind on that.
Oh, did he?
That's what I heard, was that he changed his mind on that.
Yeah, it's just a thought. Maybe you never know. It could be, and they put him on the cover of Time magazine. He might be like a double agent for some reason.
Well, I wondered at first if he was in fact a plant to sort of head whistleblowers off at the gate. But I think over the course of the years, I think he started to take his job seriously, especially spending all that time in the Ecuadorian embassy. And, you know, if he's a phony, then they're going to have to fake his death somehow and put him off into the witness protection program.
Yeah. Okay. It's just a thought, but have a great show, Mike. Have a good day.
All right, thanks an awful lot, and we're going to switch over to Brandon in Michigan. Aloha, Brandon. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike, you're sounding a lot better. Good to hear you.
Thank you.
The board op might need some uppers, though. I don't know. Sounds pretty depressed lately.
Well, we're all working long hours, and we're very, very tired.
Man, I understand. My reason for the call was Mrs. Nessel in our lovely state of Michigan here. And we forget to mention that she's also a lesbian and Jewish. Now, I've been emailing her regarding her hate crimes agenda, but she won't email me back.
Okay, Brandon, I got to put you on hold. We got to take another break for commercials. Don't hang up. I'm going to come back to you, and you can tell us all about Nessel.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Did you know that neither the American Medical Association nor the American Bar Association were established to benefit the American people? Have you recognized that in our country, health care has little to do with health, and that our court system has nothing to do with justice? The priests of both medicine and law have been incentivized to implement a dark agenda on behalf of the Bilderbergers and their ilk. To protect ourselves and our progeny, we need to take a much closer look at how these two giant industries really work. Join me, Al Whitney, on In Defense of Humanity, Saturdays at 7 p.m. Central, as we expose the matrix and learn how not to consent to our own destruction.
Don't regret growing old. It's a privilege denied to many. Heart disease is taking our youth from us. Young people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond are dying needlessly. One of the hardest messages I've ever had to deliver is to convince people that something natural like Extendivite should be taken as a preventative measure. I'm sure you heard an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Extendivite is that ounce. Take Extendivite for 1 year and see what your doctor has to say and how much better you feel. Herbs take time to address the problem. It took years of life to have a problem. Give Extendivite 1 year to fix the problem. Don't wait until it's too late. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or visit us on Amazon.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
this country is coming to. I sure would like to know if they don't do something by and by. The rich will live and the poor will die. Doggone, I mean the panic is on. Can't get no way, can't draw no pay.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. We're still talking with Brandon in Michigan. We're talking about Attorney General Dana Nessel, and you are about to tell us that she was ignoring your letters.
Well, that's usual for the people in office. You know, I suggested the scenario when a Jewish person tags a cemetery with a swastika. Is that a hate crime? But it seems that when two white people get together, we're white supremacists. You know. Anyways, long story short, that went on for a bit. She didn't respond. But what she's doing is persecuting the Christians around here, and especially the Catholic adoption societies. She's calling them hate mongers because they don't want to adopt two LGBTP plus people.
Yeah.
And so she's making it so that she also adopted children, obviously, because she can't bear children without, you know, a male. She's got two kids of her own. I wonder who she grabbed them from. But, yeah, I did some digging and got her private cell phone number. May I give that over the airline?
No.
Oh, okay.
Do not put that out over the air.
Okay, well, it'll be distributed in other means then. But that's about it.
Okay, well, thanks an awful lot for the phone call. We're going to let you go, and the phone lines are open. Okay, up in Canada, there is a situation going on, and this is coming from LifeSite News. Apparently, there is a court battle going on where this Canadian father is fighting to block a court-ordered testosterone treatment for his 14-year-old daughter. And U.S. experts are warning there's an increasing danger that more and more American parents are going to find themselves in a similar predicament. Now, Michelle Cretella, president of the American College of Pediatrics, said, yes, it really is that bad. Parents are losing their right to protect their children from this dangerous medical experiment, and extended family members fare no better. Now, generally, at least in this country, there is a rule that individuals under the age of 18 cannot consent to medical treatment without their parents. But apparently when it comes to sex transitioning and playing around with all these hormones and stuff, oh, no, 14 is good enough. Story coming out of Natural News. Apparently girls as young as 8 are being treated with testosterone to become transgenders. This is coming out of the Heritage Foundation. They recently held a panel to discuss transgender medicalization and the growing popularity of so-called gender affirmative therapies that are permanently harming an increasing number of today's youth, including hormone treatments, which are now reportedly being administered to underage children as young as 8 years old. These kids are not old enough to know what gender they are. They are old enough to be talked into this sort of thing by activists. And there does seem to be a huge amount of pressure being put on them to say, yes, I'm really a girl, or I'm really a boy, or I'm really whatever it is, and to just have these very harmful, toxic chemicals pumped into their bodies. It's medical child abuse is what it is. It's medical child abuse. The House Democrats are introducing a bill that will force all schools in the United States of America to allow transgender male athletes to compete as females. Now that is totally wacko, okay? These transgender male athletes, they're still male. They've grown up soaked in testosterone. They've got the higher bone density. They're taller. They're stronger. Normal biological females cannot compete with them. That is why there is a women's and a men's division in athletic competition. Now, if you really want, let's create a third division, transgenders. And we'll let the transgenders compete against each other. The boys compete against the boys, the girls compete against the girls. But this idea of allowing transgender male athletes to compete as females, the girls are just going to give up and go home. There's no reason for them to even show up for PE anymore. You're going to discourage them. They're going to be dispirited. This is utterly ridiculous. Okay, here is something interesting. I may need a little of this myself. Apparently, gentle jolts of alternating current to the brain restored the waning working memories of older adults aged 60 to 76 years old, I'm in that category, to performance levels seen in younger adults aged 20 to 29, at least for a little under an hour. Now, the scalp-delivered electrical burst appeared to resync brain waves across areas of the noggin important for high-level thinking and memory, the prefrontal and temporal cortex, which appeared to have fallen out of step over the years. The results published in Nature Neuroscience support the idea that out-of-sync ripples of electrical activity from neurons firing in different areas of the brain may help spark gradual declines in working memory during aging, as well as memory deterioration associated with dementias such as Alzheimer's. Moreover, the finding generates some early buzz that such non-invasive brain stimulation may one day in the future be used as a therapy for such memory issues. Well, that'd be good. Tinfoil hat takes on a whole new meaning. Okay, the feds have taken down a $1 billion with a B Medicare fraud scheme. It was called Operation Brace Yourself. They arrested 24 people, including doctors and owners of medical equipment companies, and they were charged in this huge scam. And basically the way it worked is they targeted elderly and disabled people by setting them up with back, neck, and knee braces they didn't actually need, which were then billed to Medicare. That's just tacky. That's just tacky. All right. Dr. Russell Portnoy, who was paid by Purdue to push opioids, has now agreed to turn state's witness, and he will be testifying against Purdue as part of the raft of lawsuits over America's opioid epidemic. And so Dr. Portnoy has agreed to cooperate with lawyers for cities and counties suing drug makers, distributors, and pharmacies in return for dropping legal actions against him. Okay, so you probably saw this on the front of whatreallyhappened.com. Scientists have finally succeeded in imaging an actual black hole, or at least the event horizon. And they imaged the black hole at the center of our own Milky Way, M87, and they did it with a network of radio telescopes literally spread all over the Earth to form an aperture 8,000 miles wide. And so they were able to create this virtual telescope plus a lot of computer power, and they were able to basically produce this image. So Elon Musk's Falcon Heavy flies again. This time they actually got all 3 boosters back on Earth, 2 of them landing on the pads at Cape Kennedy, and the 3rd one landing at the way ship out there in the ocean. So way to go, Elon Musk. And the difference this time is they had new engines, which are more fuel efficient. And apparently they've also just test fired that new really huge engine for their Starship. SpaceX is likely to win NASA's crew competition by months for billions of dollars less. And this means that NASA will get a better deal from SpaceX to get astronauts up to the International Space Station. Assuming all 12 missions are purchased and flown at a rate of 2 per year, the average seat price is $58 million per seat for the commercial crew. This is a bargain compared to the roughly $80 million Russia is charging for their ride to the ISS. Now, over at NASA, they've been working on this monster rocket for the past 8 years, the Space Launch System. And it is huge. It's the biggest rocket ever built since the Saturn V. Now they're saying it may not ever be completed. Now, this is designed to send humans and almost 60,000 pounds of cargo to the moon and perhaps beyond. The SLS is bigger and more powerful than any rocket since the Saturn V behemoth that took Apollo to the moon 50 years ago. Now, NASA has said the rocket will send Americans back to the lunar surface as early as 2024, with an uncrewed test flight tentatively scheduled for 2020. Okay, here is the problem. The Falcon can get that mass up into orbit for a lot less money. They're saying that each Space Launch System flight will cost at least $1 billion, or about 11 times more than SpaceX's Falcon Heavy rocket. So, yep. I'm looking at this here right now. Falcon Heavy, 141,000 pounds to low Earth orbit. 209,000 pounds, that's the Block 2. So they're out there. Okay. Wilbur Ross is out there saying it's time to get back to the moon and exploit the heck out of it. And of course he's right. Space is not going to become viable until it's commercialized. Robert Heinlein actually wrote a science fiction story, The Man Who Commercialized the Moon. And it was a very entertaining story, as all of Heinlein's stories really were. But yeah, let's get back to the moon and see what's there that is worth the trip, what is worth the unit cost of extraction. Okay, over in the tri-state area, they had some snow, April snow. Surprised a lot of people. They weren't expecting it to snow. But surprise! You got the snow. Apparently, Game of Thrones fans are taking advantage of the snow to sort of spoof the TV show because of its marketing logo. Winter has arrived, and so, or winter is here. That's the show's slogan this year for the final season. And so people are putting out these snowmen saying that this is really too much marketing, various other spoofs. But apparently Chicago was getting 2 inches an hour of snow, and winter is definitely here. Over at Yellowstone, they've discovered a new thermal area in Wyoming, but scientists are adamant this time. There's no impending eruption because they found another area of thermal activity near the caldera. And they're saying that this new thermal area is just simply a normal part of Yellowstone's dynamic hydrothermal activity. The area has been slowly forming over the past 2 decades. Not only that, but it was just recently spotted using infrared images of the existing Turn Lake thermal area. And obviously scientists are out there saying, there's no eruption coming, everybody can be calm, there's no reason to panic, please show up and bring your tourist dollars with you here. This story is kind of sad. A guy named Joseph Robertson, 78-year-old veteran, and he had this rural Montana property, and he dug some ditches around the house to protect the area from wildfires. He also put in a pond, and he got arrested. The state basically said, no, you can't do that without our permission, just because you own the property. And they basically put him in prison for 18 months. He was serving probation. He passed away. He was also fined $130,000, which is a liability inherited by his estate. And Judicial Watch thinks the Supreme Court, they've overturned the decision, saying, yes, he can dig a pond on his property. We really are living in a police nanny state. You can't do this, you can't do that. Okay, there is a pesticide out there that is advertised as being bee safe. As you know, everyone's concerned about colony collapse disorder, and one of the potential culprits are these neonicotinoids pesticides. And so they came out with this other pesticide, flupyridine furone, was touted as a better alternative to the neonicotinoid family of chemicals. But unfortunately, scientists have discovered under certain conditions, it can render the bees sluggish and uncoordinated. And apparently the problem is that when it's used with a common fungicide, there's an adverse reaction. So it's actually killing off the insects. Now, Morgan Freeman has turned his entire 124-acre ranch into a huge honeybee sanctuary to save the bees. And I think that's a great thing. Yeah, way to go, Morgan. I think it's a really, really good thing there. Moving further on here, there's a lot of concern about Monsanto's Roundup product. There are lawsuits flying all over the place now, and one of the areas where Roundup is used in a high volume is golf courses. The fairways and the greens, that's how they're kept so uniform and undisturbed by weeds, these chemical herbicides, which means not only are the groundskeepers exposed to it, but the people who play on the golf courses are exposed to it. A probable human carcinogen. Let me repeat that one more time. A probable human carcinogen. Okay. Over in the world of health and safety, there's a lawsuit that Hormel had to go through that reveals what natural meat really means. And it doesn't mean that it's meat right off the animal. More about this when we come back.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, 2, keep it today.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield Tactical Bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more, plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AirOutfitting.com.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcast. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really happened?
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And we're talking about what is the meaning of all natural. And apparently that, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, when it comes to meat and poultry, the term natural simply means the product has no artificial ingredients and has been minimally processed. It doesn't mean anything when it comes to antibiotics, hormones, or preservatives. They can load that stuff up with all kinds of chemicals and still call it natural. Now, I love this one. This is some bureaucrat run amok. Okay, over at Whole Earth, they have a product called 3-Nut Butter. And it's peanut butter and walnuts and pecans. Okay, 3-Nut Butter. And apparently, health and safety officials ordered the store to take it down because the jar doesn't warn that the product contains nuts. There has to be a nut allergy warning in English on the jar, warning this product contains nuts. Never mind, the front of the jar says 3-Nut Butter and says peanuts, walnuts, pecan. Sometimes you worry about these governmental types here. Over in Florida, the Florida Senate last month has affirmed the right of self-reliant people to grow vegetable gardens in their front yard. There was a big stink about it where people were growing food crops in their backyards, and when they grew them in the front yard, they were getting a zoning violation. But Florida is now saying, yeah, it's okay for you to grow vegetable gardens in your front yard, which I think, given the state of the economy, is probably a really good thing to be doing. All right, Pope Benedict, previous Pope Benedict, former Benedict, he's out there blaming the Catholic Church sex abuse crisis on the 1960s sexual revolution and collapses in morality. He's looking for a scapegoat. So he said, a move away from absolute views of right and wrong towards a world where there could only be relative moral judgments has caused a general collapse in morality that has also infected the priesthood. He also bemoaned the fact that seminaries had an openly gay culture and thus failed to treat the priests, train the priests properly. Well, it sounds to me like, again, this is a failure of management. Because if this is not acceptable behavior, somebody somewhere in the chain of command has got to be saying, this is not acceptable behavior. And, just trying to blame it on the summer of love, I think is being disingenuous. Plus the fact that the problems with church molestation and pedophilia go back way before the 1960s sexual revolution. It's been going on for centuries. And I think the Pope is being a little bit dishonest here. All righty. So There's the music. Time for me to get out of here. I got things to do this afternoon. So please stay tuned for John Stadmiller. I'm sure that he will have lots of interesting things to share with you. Please take what you learn here, share it with everybody that you know. Please use email, postal mail, face-to-face. Forget about social media. It's being filtered. Please donate to Republic Broadcasting. Please donate to What Really Happened. We'll be back tomorrow. Aloha, America.